To everyone, and welcome to Tibetan Conversation Intermediate course, lesson 13. Today we're going to continue the previous lesson, which is, so it's called the other particles. Like we already discussed, the meaning other particles is that these are particles that are used in Tibetan language, but these are not particles that are stated in the text of 30. They don't. These are particles that are not originally discussed in the text of one of the classical Tibetan grammar texts. So these are called the other particles. The Tibetan sharchung. Sharchung means something that just came along the way, something that was not intended. But because of the language, and like we discussed many classes ago, we talked about the history of grammar system, and we said that the Tibetan grammar system, the language itself, the establishment of the current grammatical system went through 3 language revisions, and along the way, and regional dialects, and there were many local and regional tradition and culture which influenced the current Tibetan language. And so along the way, almost 1,300 years of journey, Tibet certain particles which were created as the language developed. So therefore, Sharchung means something that emerged along the way. It was not intended, as these were not the classical grammatical texts. So today we're going to continue the previous class. So the day 2. So Sharjung Te Ninipa, which is the second day. So day 2. So the before we go to the actual course lesson, let me first introduce today's formalism. It is this Mimangi Kate Tu Mimangi Late Ser. Let me repeat. Mimangi Kate Tu Mimangi Late Ser. So this means that the speech of the mass is poison, the hand of the mass are gold. Actually, it means that normally when we talk about when we talk about the citizen, that many different ideas and policies are implemented. So there are people who are in support to it, and then there are people who are. So because of which sometimes there are many sort of arguments that happens. It is said that the speech of the mass is poison, and when people come together and cooperate with each other towards a common goal, there's simply nothing that seems impossible to achieve, that people by cooperating with each other. And that is why it's called the hands of the mass are gold. This let us go to the lesson. So the first one is Galdil Seje Gite, Shungden Seje Gite. The third one is Gyumzen Seje Gite, and the final one is Jigja Seje Gite. we're still not done with the other particles. We'll still continue the rest for the next class. So this also Tibetan language, we have those, we have discussed some of the particles which the colloquial particles, simply because these are not the particles which are discussed in the grammatical text and are most often the day-to-day conversation rather than in writing. And therefore, some of these particles that we also can be included in these other particles. So we also understand that these particles have their own function, and that these particles does have an importance in the conversation or in the very language. So today we're going to discuss 4 such. The first one is gade seje gite. The second one is shungden seje gite. The third one is gyumzen seje gite and gite. So what do we mean by this? So the first one is particle in relation. So it's a particle that shows contradiction and relation. The second one is particles used for when it is used when we use it to show a particular citation or an excerpt from a text. Then we have particles showing or particles which shows providing a reason, and then showing simultaneous emergence. So these are the 4 different groups of particles. Okay, so let us discuss the first one. So the showing contradiction and relation. And in this, we have 2 particles. The first particle is hun. Change this. It's hun kyang. So the first one is hun kyang. The second one is ta ji mu. Hun kyang, probably if some of you have already studied Tibetan in the past, you are quite familiar with this particle, hun kyang. But ta ji mu, it is a particle that is quite often used in both writing as well as speaking. I'm not sure how much of you are actually familiar with this particle. So it's used as a contradiction, meaning that it shows, so when it is used in a statement, the statement that comes former, when I say former, it means that the part which comes before the usage of the particle will provide certain information. A part of the statement which is after the usage of the particle, so the former part and the later part. So when we use Yunkyang, what it does is that it provides a contradiction between the information that is provided in the former part, the later part of the statement. So Yunkyang. So this example, nga tsu kangtup chitup chen Yunkyang jebu sangpo matop. Kangtup chitup chen Yunkyang jebu sangpo matop. Let me repeat this. Nga tsu tup chitup kangtup chitup is a phrase. We have already discussed some of these phrases, and I've already told you during the some of these phrases are quite useful, and I recommend many of you to adopt these in your conversation as well. Kangtup chitup is a phrase that means to the best of one's ability. much as one can do. Okay, let me repeat the statement. So here, definitely, the first part gives us and the second part provides us with a different information. And these two are quite contradictory, meaning that it's not contradictory as to say that it directly contradicts the first statement. It's just that it does not follow the same flow of the message in a way that the of the statement provides a certain message, and according to the logic, it should follow a different outcome. But the outcome in the later part is different from what is expected. So therefore, we use the particle to form contradiction. So it means we did all, still we didn't obtain a good result. So here it says we did all we could, but still. So the particle should be understood as. So it's saying that this, in spite of doing all this, result was not good. Meaning that the result that was obtained was in contradiction to the action. So usually when we say we did all we could, usually the result is to obtain a good result. But then there are times when it is not possible. So therefore, we did all we could and we didn't obtain a good result are in contradiction. Therefore, we are using the particle kyang. We did all that we could, but still we didn't obtain a good result. So this is the usage of to use as but still. Another example. Okay, so let me take Kong la yang or in Kong la听忙不结束千倍把 in 讲空气加马送 so 空了听忙不结束千讲空气连加马送 so here what it means is that him or her many times in a loud voice, but still he or she didn't answer. So here we see that the expectation or the expected result someone multiple times in a loud voice was to receive a certain type of answer. In contradiction, it didn't happen. So, 很讲，空了听忙不 Tempo höpayin önkyang kongile kya masong. I have called him multiple times in a loud voice, but he or she didn't answer. So usage of the particle hünkyang. And as you can see, you can use it in a situation where there is contradiction. Leka mangpo che song hünkyang kong la mangpo che song hünkyang kong leka che de chenpo re. So kong leka mangpo che song hünkyang kong tedong leka chenpo re sha or re tu. It means that he has worked a lot, but willing to work. He has a great desire to work, or he is very enthusiastic to work more or continue working. So he has worked a lot, but still he has enthusiasm to continue working. So hünkyang as but still. Okay. The second particle we have is da ji me. Da ji me. Da ji me. So, and as you can see, it's a phrase. Khilte tushi la kyacha. Thopna. Shen nam la kyacha tho thop yepar da ji me. Let me repeat this. Khilte tho thop na. Shen nam la kyacha tho thop yepar da ji me. Khilte tushi la kyacha tho thop na. Shen nam la kyacha tho thop yepar. So what does this mean? It means if Tashi got high marks, then what is there to be said about marks of? So it means that it's a scenario where one usually it's implying that someone who usually gets the lowest marks or who performs the weakest. So it states that if Tashi has obtained a high marks, then what is there to be said about the others? So here we understand that the word tajime means to be said about it, meaning that what is there to be said about, meaning that it is already implied, or it's already there, meaning that it's already confirmed that there is nothing about it. So the usage of the particle tajime is done in a condition where one implies that something else is a confirmed thing if something else was already. So here it is more like in a positive manner. We can also use it in a more negative manner. This person has not cleared the exam. What is there to be said about others? Like this. So we can see the. And then let me give you another example. Lama Yuna Lobma or Kelop, let's say Kelop, which means gelop onward ta chi mu. So it says that arrived. What is there? What should be said about whether or not the students have arrived? Because if the guru definitely will be there. So this is the usage of tajimu. So here it is not a contradiction. It is more like inclusive in relation. It's stating that if something is there, the other is definitely there. Or if something, this has definitely happened. So tajimu. Lama huyuna. Tajimu. Okay, so these are the two particles of contradiction and relation. Then we have the particles used for citation. So this particle, if one is going to cite something from the text or through experience or something that was already said by some, it's a particle used to cite some, to take something and then to reference it or to then. So the particle is dike. And those of you who are the Heart Sutra, the first line is dike dagite. Not only Heart Sutra, every sutra we see that it starts with the most of the sutra, it starts with dike dagite batuchina. So dike dagite. What does it mean? It means, thus I have heard once. So the usage of the particle dike of thus, meaning that to cite or to recite something that has already been said or some heard. So it is something that one has heard and then now they are reciting it. So it's also used for citation from different text also. So I've heard once. Then lame diketu kalop nang. Lame diketu kalop nang. Thus is the teaching of Guru. The particle dike is thus, and it is used for citation or recitation of something that has been before. So dike. Let's do it. Ke la ki dike super echa namki gombar cho. So ke la ki gombar cho. Cho means to place. Gombar is in your heart. So gombar cho means place this in your heart. So genla, this gen is like I said, this. So let me write. So usually genla can be written in two ways. So this is genla, and this is this genla gen comes from the word gen, which means someone who takes responsibility. And then this is a short form of the word gegen. So we have gegen way as gen. So this is more modern way of doing it. And there was a great, it was probably 10 years ago or so. There was like this argument whether one should use the word gen, because this is who is senior or elderly in age. So is it appropriate to use this in, is it appropriate as referring or addressing to teacher, because not every teacher might be senior in age. So therefore they come up of in this manner. So this is a short form of the word gege. Recently, we see a lot of these short forms. For example, we have the word tashi. And we see that these days they condense it into tashi tele. We see that many of the current to use ti tele. And there are other condensed words as which are more like a short form, and also could be considered as the contemporary Tibetan youth. They're using some of these words these days as a form of trend. So this particular word, it may not be very much on the front of trend. The argument relating the word usage of the word ge. So there is nothing wrong with this. Just doesn't mean that one is senior in terms of age. One can be senior in terms of knowledge. But there was that particular argument, and then there was certain type of resolvement where using this, a group still continued using this. So so kaya lagi diki sungpar keja nam ki kongpar cho. It's a way of saying you. We have discussed this under pronouns. Pronoun keja. Keja means you, or you in plural. Keja. This particular sentence means that thus, which is said by the teacher, please keep it in your heart, keep it in your mind. Make sure to keep it in your mind. So, okay. This particular example used the particle that is dike. Now, going to the third type of particle, which is particles providing a reason. In a way, reason, sometimes also providing the purpose. So both reason and purpose, this particular part, both reason as well as purpose. Okay, so the first one, those who have done a little, those who have studied etymology, or we call it Dudra, you have done those you have done those reasoning cases where you provide reasons, that is valid reasoning for certain type of statement that you provide. So we use chir. So some of you might remember yuebech. So chir is used for reasoning. So the statement is, and this example is also there. Toa tongchir me yuepashe. Toa tongchir me yuepashe. So the first part becomes the reasoning that is provided. The second part of the statement becomes the that is done because of that reasoning, or a particular statement that is provided based on that reasoning, a deduction more. So here the statement says, meaning that because there is fire because smoke can be seen. So the reasoning that the smoke can be seen state that there is fire. On the mountain, on the smoky mountain, it is understood that there is smoke. So similarly, because there is fire, there is smoke. So this is providing reasoning in this case. Now the second example, membala temperature menkhan to draw. Membala temperature menkhan to draw. Membala temperature menkhan to draw. Went to the hospital to consult the doctor. So here, why or the purpose of going is to consult the doctor. So went to the hospital to consult the doctor. So the purpose here, chir is used to provide a purpose, though it may not direct any translation here, but it has an influence to this two parts of the sentence. To the hospital, the second one to consult the doctor, and the relation between these two is made by the particle chir, which provides understanding, saying that the purpose of them going to the hospital is to consult. They went to the hospital to consult the doctor. It may not directly manifest as a translation or any word here, but it has for the entire sentence. But in Tibetan, you see that it manifests as the word chir. So chir can be used either to or to provide a reasoning. So let me give you an example here. Okay. Cell nyo chir la chin. Cell nyo chin. Cell nyo chir. For the purpose of buying the vegetables, they went to the market. Let me add the subject. Kong cell nyo chir trom la chi. He went to buy vegetables. So therefore, we see that in this particular example, we see that purpose is being shown by the usage of the word chir. Mm-hmm. Lobjong chir yacha or because so let's give a subject here. Studied hard or studied well, they got high marks. So chir for reasoning here instead of purpose or reasoning. So chir is a more often it's a more often regularly used particle, and this particle once or twice if you have studied Tibetan language. But this particle, this is used much less than chir, which is she. In the yes, thank you. I didn't even see that. Thank you. So this is me. No, it becomes the negation. It's without the ta. And I was also very immersed with chir that I even didn't see that out. Yes, it's without ta. Okay, so the third example, the particle she. She is also there to provide a particular reasoning, since these would part function of providing a reason. 내가 욕보찰 그 시 냠레추. So the first one becomes the purpose or the reasoning. The second one becomes that has to be done, or something that has to be accomplished, or a particular statement which is deduced by that reasoning. So she 냠레추. Let me repeat this. 내가 욕보찰 그 시 냠레 is an imperative form, which is to command someone or to instruct someone. Because the work cooperate with each other, implication is more implication rather than stated. So asked cooperate with each other. So because chir understood as because, sometimes also purpose. She can be understood as because, providing reasoning. Okay, now the final type of particle that we're going to discuss in today's class is particles showing emergence. Simultaneous emergence means two things happening at the same time. The title seems quite the title seems quite exaggerated, but it actually means two things happening at the same time. Particles showing simultaneous emergence, or two things happening at the same time. So the first one is tangdil. It's more like conjunction at the same time, because tang is more or less a conjunction. So lo unye peteko tangdil gegen sapa mangbu ngudru chesom. We repeat this. Lo te unye gegen sapa mangbu ngudru chesom. Let me repeat it once again. Lo te unye peteko gegen sapa mangbu ngudru chesom. Okay, so what does it mean? Together with the founding day ceremony of the school, many new teachers were introduced. When the founding ceremony was happening, at that very event, many new teachers were introduced at the same time. Tangdil is used as together with. Together with the founding day ceremony of the school, many new teachers were introduced. Now this one is a little tricky one because it changes. It means imitate. So imitating someone as a joke. Ledu means to imitate someone. But here, imitate someone as a joke. But as a joke, if you were saying if we were to say playful manner, then this particular particle will be changed into playful manner. Though in Tibetan it will still have the same meaning, but just by changing the word from joke manner, it will change from as to in a. So imitate as a joke will be changed as imitate in a playful manner. So kudze tantra le de che. So these are used in order to state a simultaneous emergence, meaning that two things happening at the same time. In the first case, the first same time is opening of or the founding day ceremony and the introduction of teacher. It's not something which is in a way an event that or something that happened at the like doing two things or using it compounding two actions, saying like playing as a joke or imitating as a joke or imitating in a playful manner. So more like to compound two things rather than simultaneously, more like compounding two things together. So just like I said, it's more like conjunction. So together with the founding day ceremony of the school, many new teachers were introduced, imitate as a joke or playful manner. So these are the particles. These are the second set of particles that we discussed today. Like I said, many of these are used in day-to-day conversation, but they which are part of the original dependent and independent particles that are discussed and discussed in the text of 30, which is the classical grammatical text. But these are particles that were along the way as the language changed, as there were certain changes to the language. These particulars came along the way and they held an important position in the conversation language. And they also appear in literature. So therefore, we can see that these particles are there. So these are the particles that we discuss in today's lesson. These are quite interesting, and these are also very useful. For example, some of these particles like tajime is something that I would recommend many of you to conversation. So many of these particles can be adopted in your conversation and could, like I said, bring up more dynamics to your conversation rather than using some of the particles that you use, or rather being restricted by the inavailability of particles. If you adopt these particles in your more, you'll have more liberty over the language. Okay, so new words, but still, 大景语, what is there to be said about something? Because if it's something that happened and it guarantees that the other things are going to happen, so what is there to be said about it? Thus, because of for she, because tangdil together with inner with unyepa, founding, starting, beginning. Would say joke, playful manner, game. Nyamle, cooperation. So now let me go to the idioms, and after that, if today's lesson, you can ask it. But before, let me finish with the idioms. So the first idiom that we have is Tianmo. Genmo sirkur. Genmo sirkur. So genmo, gen means elderly, female here. So genmo sirkur. It means old woman carrying gold. So this doesn't it doesn't mean to take things in the literal meaning. What it means is that this idiom means to do something dangerous without any practice. The example is given as an old lady carrying a bag of gold because the old lady is very easy target for many robbers and degenerates. To do something dangerous without proper preparation is as dangerous and will most probably end in a big loss. So this mean is normally we say that to be an easy target for something. So definitely anyone is a very easy target for the robbers and the degenerates because they're very vulnerable. And therefore, to do something, especially something dangerous without a good preparation, is to make oneself get for a big loss. So this is the meaning of this idiom. 30 meper rithet ni kemo ser kurtan ta rani pungwe legare. Let me repeat this. 30 rithet la zekyu ni kemo ser kurtan ta rani pungwe legare. Meper rithet la zekyu ni kemo ser kurtan ta rani pungwe legare. Mountain without preparation is like an old woman carrying gold. It is a job to ruin oneself. So, for example, the mountain is a very tall mountain, not only a very high mountain, it's also a mountain which does. It's a mountain that doesn't have a very good climbing areas. So one to climb at the top of the mountain. So to climb it without any proper preparation is to ruin oneself, meaning to kill oneself or to put oneself in or having a great loss if something goes wrong. Okay, so the second one is Koba Siltung. Koba Siltung. It means beating down the garlic by separating. Okay. Divide and conquer, just like garlic that is separated one by one to be beaten in paste or into paste. Change this to be beaten into paste. Okay, so it means that something is as a whole. So it's better to first divide it and then try to take care of something as an individual rather than a whole group. Koba Siltung Gitabsheni. Koba Siltung Gitabsheni to Hamani. Koba Siltung Gitabsheni to Hamani. Of divide and conquer has the strategy of divide and conquer. So this is the meaning. The actual meaning is the strategy down the garlic by separating, which is divide and conquer, has been there from the early times, meaning from already there. It was one of the more prominent strategies. Okay, so before we end, anyone have any question regarding these particles that we have discussed? Do we have anyone who has any questions? That's so.
Honestly speaking, I have a lot to make other students this opportunity. I ask only one.
That's so.
And this question is about particles, you call it gelte. Gelte.
Which one?
Yes.
But
Yeah. Yes, these two, on Kyang and the second. The question about these two, as I know, there is another conjunction, manaro, manaro, manaro da mu. Manaro mu da mu. Manaro mu da mu. And as I feel the similar way that you write, please.
Yes.
Say something about this manaro mu da mu.
So, so you mean the conjunction manaro meta, right?
Right, and manaro and mu kyang together.
Yes. Mu kyang. So let me write this so that we know. We're talking about mu. Mu. So you mu. So about this particle, is it?
Right, it's talking about it.
So it is used. Particular particle is also used as contradiction. So normally it's used with the contradiction. We have the usage like hin me, ye me, kokop chung me ki. Mean usage are done so to say that even though something was there or something is there, it's more like a contradiction where saying that even though if we say ye me, it means that there. Then if we say yin me, means even though it was it. So ye me, yin me uses a sort of even though. So it's very similar to the contradiction Hönkyang and Hönkyang. It's very similar to Hönkyang. Still, so both of these are used in order to state a contradiction. So let's say Kong la kokap ye me kyang ten sangbo or ten sangbo mitrup. It means that even though they had a good opportunity, a good result was not, a good result didn't happen, even though. So here, me can be used as even though. So even though they had a good opportunity, they didn't have a good result. So yes, it's a contradictory particle, but we didn't discuss it in today's class.
They are the same, Hönkyang and mu, right? Or not?
Hönkyang and mu are mostly the same. Translation, we see that Hönkyang should be understood as but still, and mu is understood as even though. So therefore, both give us a contradictory statement in the beginning, gives us a statement in the beginning, and the second statement becomes something that is contradictory to what is being anticipated. So yes, it's we can say that it's similar.
And the difference is that Hönkyang not so strong contradictory.
Yes,
is to say less conflict.
You mean it doesn't contradict as strong as me. So this probably it could be understood in this way, but 100% that could be how it should be interpreted. Yes, so both of these are in contradiction to each other. I don't see any solid reason why it should be more stronger. So in my opinion, both of these are contradictory in nature, and there is a very subtle in them. A very subtle difference.
But the difference still exists, right?
Yes, difference still exists. Otherwise, we wouldn't need any other particle.
Of course, you're
is
right.
it? Yes. So what is the difference between chir and shi? Okay. So the difference between chir and shi, chir can be understood as because stating a reasoning as well as purpose, saying that this is the purpose of doing it. But she can only be provided to give a reasoning, but provide purpose as chir does. Though we can infer that in a more indirect way, sometimes it may be understood as, but it's always about the reasoning. It doesn't go towards the purpose. But sometimes the purpose and the reasoning aligns with each other. It may seem that she is showing a purpose, but in reality, she only provides reasoning, whereas chir can, as well as it could provide a purpose. So this is the difference between these two. So chir can be because of, it could be for the purpose of, or like it's been translated here, it might not even manifest in translation. That's so. So therefore, this is something that is quite interesting that I have found, that sometimes some influence over the entire statement, though they may not manifest as a particular word. And these type of particles are more stronger in higher statement than those who appear directly. And one example is the first grammatical case. The first grammatical case of the usage of the Greek compound particle, we have found that they do not manifest as a translation in English. It's innate in Tibetan and the Sanskrit, or the Sanskrit and the Tibetan language. Something that is pervasive on the nature of the word, of the statement, rather than manifesting as a writing. So in many cases I have observed, so this is my personal observation, could be somewhat wrong, but for the few years that I have studied the system of grammar of Tibetan, seen that the Greek compound particles are actually particles that have a very great deal of influence over the statement, but the translation, be it in the terms of concluding, or in terms of providing the understanding nature of something. Similarly, here we see that the purpose may not manifest in the writing, but it is very the entire statement. So this is something that I noticed and I wanted to share to everyone. So does anyone have one question? If anyone has a single question, I would answer it. Then we'll call it a day. Do we have any questions?
Yes, Yuna. Can I?
That's so.
Yuna, the Tachimu and
Okay, so 大姐妹引等于哈张讲，哈张讲 and 引等于 is a phrase that states, of course, like saying of course, and that means moreover. It is something that is moreover something that should be done. So both of Tajime is not similar to that. It's like I said, it is a usage that states that if something has happened to the condition applied to that something, the other thing is guaranteed to happen. So if Tashi, let's say Tashi was the fastest person in our class. If Tashi did not secure if Tashi did not secure any position during the sports day, that we won't say that of course other people will not have it. But even though if it's of course, it's not like Yindang. So as you can see, Yindang is just it's more like saying yes and meaning that we accept it and we accept it. It's a more exaggeration on the fact that one has accepted something. Tajime is different because it provides an understanding that if something has happened in a particular condition, the other thing is guaranteed. It has nothing to do with the agreement. Yindang is more like agreeing with something. Hajangjang is more like Hajangjang is, but still it's more like confirming something. It's more like confirmational rather than implying something that has happened or just deducing something that has happened. So Tajime happen, there's nothing to be said if the other thing will happen or not, meaning that it's a guarantee that that other thing has happened. Yes, Yindang and Tajime, very different particles. Though they sound similar, though they may seem similar, I can see where the similarity may arise. It's in the fact that they confirm something. So the confirming part of similar, but the way they confirm is very different. So yes, these are different.
But actually, this example, like I can substitute Ajang in this Tashi example. No.
Substitute and let's try. Yes. So where is the sentence? So okay. Topna or Tobyuna? Shen am get a Tobyuper.
이말에 기지 다시 나 계좌 톱나 나저 아장장
하장장. Yes, this is correct. Matone you are confirming is different from Tajime. You are confirming by saying that if Tashi has obtained a good marks, think that other have, it's like it is of course that others have attained a good mark, whereas Taj is stating or confirming by saying that if Tashi, by stating the first condition that highest marks, so depending on Tashi having obtained the highest marks, the other case has been proven. Also used without the first condition being met. So we can directly say that lobtu Tashi mayimbe lobtu shenpa gyaja tombo lemba hajang, or Tashi mayimbe lobtu shenpa gyaja tombo lemba hajang. So we can say that, or in this case we are saying that everyone else but Tashi has high marks. So the first condition is not important for the usage of Hajangchang, which the first condition has to be met. So the restriction is different, I guess. But yes, you can confirms in the same way. It confirms, like I said, the confirmation is the same, but the way it confirms has to be dependent on the restriction. 하장장 does not have to be restricted to that particular condition. Bro. It has more liberty. So I hope that I hope I'm making it more unclear. But I mean, if it's even unclear, there it might be much better, because sometimes it's better to disturb the water to see things clearly.
Just something for me to digest.
Yes, definitely. So, okay, so with this, we are done with today's lesson. Thank you very much for joining in. I hope that you have benefited from it as much as I have enjoyed teaching today's lesson. And those who have questions, you can either ask it in the group. Best if you ask it in the group. I will try to answer it as soon as possible. You can also ask it to me directly, and then I'll try to answer it as soon as possible. Try to practice this. Like I said, try conversation. These are very good particles. I feel that is, as far as conversation is particles, even when it comes to literature, these are very good particles. So try to adopt these and use this in your writing. And yeah, we have done some of the practices that we have done in previous. We have those script and get used to those some of those scripts that we have already provided in previous classes. And if you have the opportunity, speak Tibetan. The more you speak, the more you're going to get familiar with it. This is it for today, and I'll see every one of you for the next. Then I hope everyone good morning, good evening, good afternoon, and good evening wherever you are. And then I'll see you for the next class.
Thank you.
So that's